All Hallows, Jamie Lee, Curtis. Oh God, it's our best intro ever. Hi and welcome to Behind the Hype with me, your host as always, Brian Dressel. With me as always is Mr. Jonathan Hardesty.
What?
And subbing in for my wife who is out of town, Mr. Matt Dykes.
Hello. Just on a podcast though, right?
Shit, I thought you were on a flight. Are you not on your way over here? I need somebody to cuddle with tonight.
Oh.
Uh-oh. I hope you got on the red eye.
Whew.
I'll check flights then.
Honestly, I wouldn't. I mean, flying to America right now, you do know how bad COVID is here, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to buy a hazmat suit.
I'm not sure if it would work.
It'd make cuddling awkward, too. Just like all the crinkle of plastic.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a strictly no hazmat cuddling type of guy.
Ah.
It's one of my few rules. No hazmat suits.
It was
Don't ask why I came up with that rule.
So risky.
Story. So here we are, sadly, at the end of Jamie Lee Curtis month. I had a lot of fun talking about Jamie Lee Curtis. I had a lot of fun watching a lot of Jamie Lee Curtis stuff, and then we watched this one. I was so excited to watch this movie. Being a big Scream fan, like I remember that scene with Randy in the video store where it's like, if they'd watch Prom Night, they'd save time. Like this whole like, oh man, Prom Night must be really important to the slasher genre. And when you watch it, it's like, oh, I can see a lot of slashers rip the movie off, but I that's about it. That's about where my entertainment ends, is going like, oh, this movie stole from, oh, this movie stole from, oh, this movie stole from this. Wow, this movie did inspire a lot of people, but time has not been very kind to this.
No, it has not.
I guess it's kind of like this movie did inspire a lot of people to make better versions of this.
Yeah. I mean, just going down the line, like you can see the things in Scream, obviously, but Scream wears it on its sleeve. But like, I Know What You Did Last Summer is basically the exact same fucking plot. And then we'll get into the rest of them as we go through it. But there are quite a few, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess that's cool. Is there anything else in this movie other than trying to figure out what else ripped off of it? Not really.
Yeah.
Kind of a bummer. Before we get too far into it, let's do a really quick where have they been doing, because mine is going to be peppered through this episode throughout because it is surprisingly the same movie. But I know Matt had one or two, but we're going to try to keep them to one. Matt, where have they been doing? What were you watching Jamie Lee's?
So I've been watching a lot of John Carpenter films recently because I've got there's like 4 films I got on 4K Blu-ray of his. So it was Prince of Darkness, The Fog, Escape from New York, and They Live. And Jamie Lee Curtis is actually in 2 of them. She's in The Fog, but she also does a voice in Escape from New York as well. She's the voice of the computer system and the narration thing.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, so I would say The Fog is probably going to be the where have you been doing, because she's actually physically in it with her mother as well. Janet
I didn't
Leigh's,
know that.
Yeah, Janet Leigh's in The Fog as well, and they do share like a couple of scenes, which is quite nice.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
She good in The Fog? I saw The Fog when I was like super young, and it scared the bejesus out of me. And I don't really remember any of it since then. So I didn't even know Jamie Lee was in it. Like I just avoided it like the plague.
Yeah, she's pretty good at it. It's interesting. It's almost like she's Laurie Strode a little bit. Like maybe after she's sort of had a sexual awakening a little bit, because one of the first things that she does is she's a hitchhiker and she gets picked up by I'm blanking on his name now. Tom Atkins.
Oh, okay.
And they're in his truck. They're chatting, and then they just end up going back to his and having sex.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah. And she's still got the long hair at that point as well.
Oh, okay. I need to watch The Fog. I was seriously just way too young when I saw it. So I think I just need to give it another shot. I'll probably like it. I like most John Carpenter stuff. I even like Ghost of Mars. I know that's a bad movie. Don't get me wrong. But it's a really fun bad movie. if you haven't seen it. Ice Cube fighting Martians. How could you go wrong?
It sounds like the perfect movie, really.
Right? Like, if you haven't seen it, give it a shot. Just don't expect much from it. My where have they been doing is Terror Train. I picked it because I was trying to decide between Prom Night and Terror Train to review this week, and I'm like, well, Prom Night is far and away the more popular film. Like, they just did a remake of it a few years ago. Like, everyone's aware of it. It got 4 sequels. People like Prom Night, so that must be the right choice, because there's no Terror Train 2 that I know of. I mean, there very well could be. I just didn't look it up. And I gotta say, man, wow, Terror Train is such a better movie. Still not great. I don't think, as far as like the Jamie Lee horror genre, neither one of these two are like nowhere near fucking Halloween, or even H2O or the remakes of Halloween. Like, I don't even put them up in that caliber. But compared to Prom Night, Terror Train is just a far better movie, and it's shockingly the same movie when you kind of break it down. Like, both movies, just to kind of do a slight breakdown of both movies start with a prank gone wrong. In Prom Night, it's a bunch of kids playing, I guess, hide and go seek. I guess
Hide and go, like shout kill or something.
Yeah,
like,
hide and go shout kill at your friends.
After you or something.
It was a
it's
weird
like the
game.
worst game kids play. Like,
Yeah, and then you just shout at somebody until they fall out of a window and die, and then leave them for dead. Pretty cool. And then
Because you'll go to prison.
Yeah, because kids go to prison. An accident definitely going to send them to prison. At least they stick to the fact that kids are idiots. In Terror Train, it is a sorority like hazing thing where this nerdy guy, they're like, yeah, man, you get to fuck Jamie Lee. Go see her up in that room, man. You're gonna get some. And little does the guy know that they have recently stolen a cadaver out of a morgue and put it in the bed. So when he goes up there to bang Jamie Lee, there's a dead lady there. And he loses his fucking mind. As one would. I think that's a fair response. But so much that he has to go to a mental institution and help, get back to normal, which he doesn't, and he follows them to their senior party on a New Year's Eve night on a train and just starts murdering the fuck out of people. And very similarly to our movie today, which is Prom Night, where years later the kids are grown up, and I'm just going to spoil the ending right out of the gate. Jamie Lee's brother, who was there when their sister died, goes around and starts fucking killing everybody. Very similar films. But we're going to focus primarily on Prom Night, except for every now and then when I'm like, yeah, Terror Train did this too, and a little bit better. I'll just sneak that in whenever I can.
just get that soundboard ready with that word.
Yeah. Terror Train did this too, but a little bit better. Other things in Prom Night before we move through it, we have Leslie Nielsen in it, in a part where he's there, he's a dad, and then he's fucking gone. Don't know where he went. Did just kind of
I'm sure he got I'm sure partway through filming it was like, oh god, I'm sick of this film so much. And then his agent rings like, oh, by the way, you got that part for Airplane. He's like, oh, have I? Oh, see you later.
Oh, that sounds way more fun than this. Bye.
Yeah, my thought is, like, canonically, the father, after that one scene in the principal's office, he just falls asleep and doesn't wake up until the end of the plot. He's like, oh wait, what'd I miss?
Oh, no, but you'd be missing a very key sequence in the film, though, where Leslie Nielsen does some serious dad dancing at the prom.
Oh, yeah. There is
He was asleep during that.
Yeah.
I mean, it does look like it, to be fair, the way he's dancing.
Hey,
I would not be surprised.
I'm not sure if I can dance much better than him, so I'm going to take down the... I feel for him, is what I'm saying. We're not
I'm
all
not saying
great
I can
dancers.
dance better than that, but it was just like, if you were looking for an example of dad dancing, that is, you could just take that clip and just play it on a loop and like, that's dad dancing.
I mean, collectively, I think the three of us probably couldn't dance circles around his dancing performance in this movie. So, I mean, who are we to talk, I guess?
Yeah. I've been watching a lot of horror movies lately, like 2 or 3 a day. I've just been leaving them on while I've been working. And one of them was Friday the 13th Part 4. That has the best dance sequence in any horror movie ever. Are either one of you familiar with Halloween Part 4?
Not Part 4, I don't think.
I've seen it, but it's been a while since I've seen it.
Crispin Glover has a dance sequence in that movie that is the best thing I've ever seen. First off, it's Crispin Glover, so you know it's going to be good. But just search. I'm just going to tell everyone out there listening. Search Crispin Glover dance Friday the 13th Part 4. On the new special edition DVDs, they have an entire entire special feature just about his dance sequence and how the director's like, he took it to clubs. Like, he tested this dance. And everyone tries to blame the music that we played. And I'm pretty sure we could have been playing Happy Birthday Christopher and he would have danced the exact same way. That's my Friday the 13th moment in this thing. I think I've had a Friday the 13th moment in almost every Jamie Lee episode. It feels kind of counterintuitive. When she's
it's almost like you got a box set or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty awesome. I'm just saying. Shout Factory, they did a good job. Anyhow, so let's dive into Prom Night here.
Must we?
I know, it's really easy talking about everything else. But that's kind of where I think we should start. Like, Prom Night is a very, very popular film. And I only say that because of its references in Scream and because of the remake. Like, that's enough. If people think they can spend enough money on it to make it again and make multiple sequels, it had to be pretty popular. Why do we think it didn't work for us?
It's just boring. Like, nothing really happens. The film for me spends more time setting up. Ooh, is this the killer? 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 I mean, they've got like 8 or 9 different people they throw in that could be the killer.
And one of them was added like 2/3 of the way into production. The whole mental institution guy, like, that was never part of the original script.
Yeah,
that came later, and like it's going to be too obvious it's the brother.
That's just like randomly thrown in. And the funny thing is, well, the brother is never one of these people like, ooh, is he the killer? Really?
No, I don't think he is. It really comes out of left field. Usually, for the longest time, I was thinking it was the cop. I thought he made the most sense for some reason.
I thought it was going to be Leslie Nielsen because he just disappears.
That would have made sense too, but then again, it's like, okay, so he's killing these kids for killing his daughter, but we saw the shadow of him show up when the daughter was dead. Did he just find his dead daughter and go like, I'll get you later?
Right, I will bide my time for a long time.
Well, the brother's done that.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same problem. It's a big fucking.
But, I mean, the little
problem.
kid can't do anything. He can't. He's not going to go around with a knife and I guess that would have been a more fun movie, having the younger brother as a kid chasing the other kids, and just do this whole movie, but as that young of kids.
I mean, I don't want to say the film that does that in case one of you haven't seen it, because that'd be a big spoiler for the end. But there's a slasher film where the kid is the killer, and it's pretty fucking cool.
Well, then I'll be on the lookout.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I want to echo the fact that it was boring, and I think maybe some of that is because I haven't seen enough of the movies that this inspired. I've seen a few, but I think I've seen enough to where I've already got the gist, or I've absorbed it through pop culture, osmosis, or what have you. But I just knew what was coming, and it was taking a long time to get there. And I think if I'd seen this before any of the other ones, I might have been a little bit more agreeable with the time it took to get us to just the good stuff.
Yeah.
All the killing.
Yeah, because the killing isn't bad. Like, as far as a slasher goes, especially like an 80s slasher where like they didn't quite have the effects or the budget. Like, this movie had a lot of trouble even getting funding until they got Jamie Lee to sign on, because they had a different actress for a long time before they convinced Jamie Lee to do it. And you look at the gore in it and like the effects and like that sort of stuff, and it's not bad. Like, they have a really good head chop near the end where they cut off Nelson from The Simpsons' head. And they have did he not look and sound exactly like a grown-up Nelson? Tell me I'm wrong.
I see that now, but what I kept thinking was he looked like he had Neanderthal makeup on.
Kind of like Nelson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, when he died, Chewie and I both went, ha ha.
Yeah. Also, you can tell that's where the budget went with that head. Oh my god, that was a very realistic looking piece of makeup.
Yeah, and I like
the head on the actual thing wasn't. It was actually his head that they put through like the set and just put like makeup around the neck.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then if you go into IMDb, that's his IMDb photo, is his severed head on the dance floor.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. Yeah, like
I'm glad I didn't check his IMDb profile before I'd watched the film.
I was looking. I was kind of bored while watching, and I had my phone out, and I was going through like, oh, what are these other people? Oh, I guess he dies.
I guess he gets his head cut off.
But yeah, the head chop was pretty good. Like, especially for an 80s head chop, like it did a little bit better than it did in Friday the 13th, where that one was just kind of weird. Like, this one, I kind of liked it. Like, he honestly thought he was killing the right person. He chops off the wrong head. kind of similar to H2O last week. Anyhow, but like that was pretty good. I like the girl in the van, like when she falls out of the van, he's just standing right there. Like that was a really good, shocking moment. Like the action horror stuff in this was pretty good. And then you have the problem of the slasher sucks.
Oh my goodness! They needed to show less, because the longer you sat looking at him, just kind of, I don't know how to say it other than like wobble jump around. Made me kind of like, what is this guy? Is he has an axe, but like, is he gonna hit anything?
Probably not.
I'm not convinced that anyone's gonna die.
Why is his ski mask got glitter in it as well?
Yeah. For my parents out there who have kids who are big fans of PJ Masks, he looks like a fucking Ninjalino, and it's driving me insane.
But yeah, no, like
he's just kind of scrawny and weak, and it looks like a good wind could blow him over. And it's like, this guy isn't scary. Yes, he's holding scary weapons, but I'm not afraid of him.
Yeah, there was a lot of anytime I saw him. Really, like I think the last time I was like, really, it was the last time it was effective for me. It was the first time when he was in the sauna cutting the girl's throat, the very first girl, because they had everything so dark, and they kind of paused it and freeze framed it and did stylistic stuff to hide it. But then after that, it was just like, stop moving that way. That's not scary.
Yeah,
I have to admit, like Kelly, who the first one, her death is, I really liked the way they did that, and then they end it with like a fade into red as well, which I actually liked. That I thought that was really a really cool like choice.
And I think that's kind of why this movie might be as popular as it is, or like remembered as fondly for like the people who saw it in the 80s. Like these death scenes were actually pretty good. The chase with the more popular girl when she's like just the biggest fucking idiot in the world, but she runs and hides in like the science room, and that shot of her like right at the countertop where her eyes are reflected on the table, it's a good fucking shot. Like it's a really cool little like it does like an extra like the reflection looks cool. It's a really good like capture of her face to show how scared she is, but she's still trying to see people. Like there are good things in this movie. It's just the most boring way to get to them.
And it took a long time to get her. And normally I'd be like, oh, wow, she's surviving so long. But given the way he chased her and how goofy that he was, I was like, she's a bully. She's a school bully. She's a very aggressive personality, and she's driving a fast car. She would have just punched the lights out of him, right? After seeing the way he ran.
Yeah, just look at his body language and lay his ass out. Like, just get around the sharp weapons, which I admitted can be a little daunting. But if anyone's going to do it, that girl was going to do it. Like, that girl was fucking cutthroat from the beginning. She was the one who orchestrated the whole, like, nah, that bitch is dead. We're leaving her. Just go home, pretend it never happened. Like, she would not, I don't buy that she was intimidated by scrawny McAxeman.
No, me neither. Right. And brilliant nickname.
Well, that's now going to be what his name is on the IMDb page in approximately 5, 4, 3, and 2 weeks.
I mean, it makes more sense, right?
Yeah.
I'd like what really gets me is the kids at the beginning. They start off, they look about 10 or something.
Yeah.
And then we go forward 6 years, and everyone seems to have aged like 30 years or something.
Right. I mean, when they each got the call, I was like, these adults, they're in like their 40s now? What is 6 years is really hard on them.
Yeah,
I mean, like, the worst one, I think, was the blonde friend in the corridor when there's the three of them. There's Jamie Lee Curtis. There's the one who got picked up by that really creepy guy in the van.
That she was super into for some reason. Like, that guy was creepy as fuck, and she's like, yeah, you can get it.
He was just screaming, oh, yes, come into my van, I'll murder you. I mean, that couldn't have like been screaming rape van more.
No,
to be honest.
And she was just like, cool van. Yeah, let's go for a ride. It's like, what the fuck? Stranger danger. Stranger danger.
I thought she was being sarcastic at first, and then she gets in the van. I'm like, what the hell?
I did too. I was like, okay, you're just humoring him, and then you're going to drop his ass to the curb. And no. Your ass was dropped to the curb in his van later. It's like, I was not expecting that turn. I mean, I guess props for the surprise.
I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, the worst is the other friend in the corridor. I don't remember her name, but she's blonde. She's not one of the ones that's killed. But she literally looks like she's 40. I don't know if it's
I know exactly what you're talking
decisions.
about. Totally agree with you.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the costuming that does it, because none of them look like high school students. They look like high school teachers.
Yeah, like especially when you get to like the actual prom night, and whenever they do a shot of the crowd, it's like, are there any students at this thing? Like that student over there is fucking balding. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, I do wonder if some of that is as we're watching it from 2020 and our fashion has changed so much that we associate that fashion that they're wearing there as old. Like all the fashion sense is old there. So having these young kids who are supposed to be high schoolers back then with a time jump forward causes us a little bit of a dissonance there. We're like, oh, wait, these are
I would
older people clothes now.
I would agree with you, but I've seen Carrie thousands of times, and they look like teenagers in Carrie, and they're wearing basically the same shit there.
Okay. That's a fair point. But maybe it's because of the way they were costumed here in this movie comparatively. Because
I think it's that they
looks
cast
like
a bunch
trying
of 40-year-olds.
to look young.
I think when you cast a bunch of 40-year-olds to play 16-year-olds, they're going to look like 40-year-olds. That's my guess.
Which is really crazy, because Jamie Lee Curtis must have been about, 20, 21
1980.
at the time they made this? Well, it's shot in 79.
Well, yeah, so yeah, she'd be in her 20s for sure. Early 20s.
Yeah, early 20s, because I think she turned 35 on True Lies, which is 93 when they shot the sequence at which she turned 35, so she'll be about 22.
Yeah, and it's interesting, like, because she played in Terror Train, she played a college senior, and in Prom Night, she played a high school senior, and they came out the same fucking year.
Right. College senior, I would buy.
Yeah.
Like, I'd completely buy that, because even though, like, in Prom Night, she still does look like she's in her 30s. But I can imagine, like, they get away with it as a college senior a bit more.
Yeah, I mean...
and I think some of that, too, is just how they carry themselves also. Not just looks or anything like that, but there's a scene where I think all the girls are being chased by the guy who gets his head cut off. Lou Farmer.
You can just call him Nelson. We know what you're talking about.
Nelson?
Yeah.
Okay, Nelson. Yeah. He's pinching at them, and they're walking by, and then they start to get a little giggly, and then they run off. And there's a moment that, at the end of that moment, I could kind of, if I squinted my eyes a little bit, buy the high school age, just because they were acting immature enough. But then the rest of the time, they're acting college age. So like, they weren't carrying themselves very youthfully. So that, like, for me, that caught me a little bit more than the look, because I could get by with the looks. Them looking a little bit older, if they're acting immature, giggly, you know.
And I've seen enough slashers from like the 70s, 80s, and pretty much 70s and 80s where they're always casting people in their 30s to play teenagers, and it can be done well. But in the most part, I can forgive it. Like I can go with like I'll give it the rope, whatever. Like they don't want to have to pay to have a 16-year-old on set for only 10 hours a day. They wanted to have a 30-year-old on set for 20 hours a day. All right, I get it. It's just, I think it's kind of what John said. I think it's the mannerisms, the actions, the dialogues, the costumes. Like they treated them like 30-year-olds, not like 16-year-olds. So that was just another thing that kind of takes you out of it. And I think that's kind of my biggest problem with the movie just going forward, is that no matter how often I wanted to try to get into the story or the characters or something, there'd be a moment right after whatever, like, oh, this is kind of it, and then I'm taken out of it. Like, we'll have a moment, I don't remember exactly what happened before this, but it's like, okay, so this movie's somewhat interesting, I guess. There's some story going on here. And then we have Nelson essentially forcing himself on Jamie Lee Curtis, and everyone's just like, hey, her brother shouldn't have hit him. It's like, is anyone going to talk about the fact that he was just forcing himself on her around everyone? No, everyone's cool with that part. Yeah. They just have a problem with him hitting him? What the fuck is going on?
Yeah,
it was 1980, though, you know. There wasn't such a thing as rape back then, apparently.
Apparently.
I mean, thankfully, like, Leslie Nielsen saw through it, but like even Nelson's comment was like, "You're just favoring him." It's like, no, you were assaultive.
Yeah,
my bro. Like you were straight up.
No, I'm pretty sure
unwanted contact. Like, dude.
I'm pretty sure they don't even mention that. I'm pretty sure he just says, "Yes, I am going to take my son's side."
Yeah, like they don't even acknowledge the fact that he was doing something wrong. It's just, I'm going to take my son's side, and you guys got into a fight, and you've been a pain in the ass forever. So get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and weirdly enough, because Jamie Lee Curtis is his daughter, right?
Right.
And the boy's sister. But then the way that conversation went, you would think that she was just some girl. The way that whole conversation in the principal's office went, because Leslie Nielsen didn't react as if she were his daughter. And, like, it was a very weird scene that way. Because I was like, wait, Kim, I had to stop for a second in the movie. And, like, okay, so Kim's Jamie Lee Curtis. The one who he was, what? Why? Yeah. I got really stuck up on that scene for a bit.
Yeah, that scene was a little bit weird. Circling back to things that I actually
inconsistent.
kind of liked about this movie, and it's gonna. I'm just going completely off topic here, but I wanted to bring it up before I forget. I really enjoy the opening. Like, I that's kind of what had me going like, oh, this is gonna be a good ride. Pretty much from the moment the kids are done killing the girl, because that scene, like, I'm a parent, kids getting killed, it's tough to watch, no matter even if it is done poorly like it is in this movie. It's still like, ugh. But after they got past that scene, the whole the list of names, the calling with the creepy raspy voice, I'm like, I'm into this. I mean, it's clearly where Scream got it, but either way, it worked, and it was creepy, and it was kind of fun. And I was like, the one guy who doesn't answer, he gets all mad at that name. I'm like, this is a pretty good sequence. This is setting the tone for a movie I want to watch.
Oh yeah, that voice was very chilling, and the fact that
Yeah.
they use it in some of the kills, like now,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, I can't. This is unnerving.
I like what they did as well when the whenever he rings them and he's like saying like Kelly, and then it cuts to you see Kelly as a kid as well, so you've got that association like, okay, so that's that one, and then
Yeah, that was
that one.
That was some really cool editing. Frankly, as I was watching, I was like, oh. That was the movie I was on board with. When in the beginning, the raspy voice, the quick cuts to the phone cord, back to the person, to the phone cord, to the person.
The
and then
pencil as well.
The pencil, and then like revealing who the kids were. All those bits put together gave me a whole different vibe of what this movie was going to be, and I was really on board for the energy that was giving off, especially with the voice and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's a really solid opening for a horror film, and then it just slams on the brakes like immediately.
Yeah, for most of the movie.
It's like, here,
until the
It's
kills.
weird. It's almost like they had a film cut together and then they got it. It was like, oh, it's only an hour long. We need to pad this out with some more stuff, and they padded it out in the wrong place and just made it really boring.
Do we want Jamie Lee to dance for 5 minutes straight to a disco song? Only if we can do a minute of her practicing the dance earlier in the film. Sold.
Right. Or like, we saw Halloween and really liked her in it. So let's have a movie where nothing happens in the middle of it for a while, just to build tension.
And it's interesting because I brought this up earlier when in my Where Have They Been Doing for Halloween 2, and like the complete misunderstanding of not having anything happen isn't tension. And I feel like this guy missed the mark in the exact same way. The director, Paul Lynch. It's like, no, just because nothing's happening doesn't mean that I'm sitting here suspenseful waiting for something to happen. Like, again, Terror Train, they did it right. They did it so like they just kind of peppered in the murders a little bit, and they had this really good gimmick with where is the killer, because he keeps changing costumes because it's a costume party. He kills somebody and takes their costume, so you don't know where he is necessarily. So that builds tension because, sure, nothing's happening. They're sitting around complaining about girls that won't sleep with them. But is one of the three in there a killer? We don't know. That's how you build tension. In this, it's just a kind of boring high school drama that eventually people will die in.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I was actually going to mention. The high school drama elements, it's so bizarre where you've got the opening like that, and then you just suddenly go from that into this sort of high school thing, like with about cliques and things like that, and
cliques and
like,
who's dating who, and
yeah, it's so bizarre, and we stay in that for quite a long time, like way too long.
Yeah, and
then you've got like random cop voiceover dropping in every now and again as well. I mean, what the hell was going on with that?
Yeah, but then even like the high school drama aspect, like there is some serious meat to chew on with the fact that Jamie Lee is very good friends with everyone who killed her sister. That never goes anywhere.
And they do nothing with it.
They do nothing
They do
with
absolutely nothing with that.
it. Like,
Yeah.
what?
There's a lot of stuff to unpack with that. And I mean, maybe the movie could have. But like, wow, no. I was sitting there thinking like, okay, they all killed your sister. It's your sister. I had to remind myself that because no one talks about her really,
No, not really.
except for that. So I had to keep reminding myself of these little details because the movie lost them quite a bit. But yeah, all these people killed her.
Yeah, like your
and it was a
boyfriend.
really long time.
Your boyfriend killed her. Your best friend killed her. Your bully killed her. Like what, dude?
Yeah, no, I kept thinking like, well, wouldn't it have been cool if like these kids got killed throughout, and they were only, like, and she was with them and never got killed? Like, there's like, why am I not getting killed? Like, there you go, infinitely much infinitely more interesting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This middle section, because suddenly she has to figure out her relationship with all these kids, or some
Yeah,
shit.
just something, because what we're left with is like, and this is where I say is the biggest problem in the film, which is saying something because the film is rather boring. But I can get into a boring film. I watched Curtains today, super boring, kind of interesting. But the thing that this thing needed was, it needed a final girl. Like, it needed that, who can defeat the slasher, because we just didn't fucking have it. And with Jamie Lee Curtis, you just assume it's going to be her, but she just kind of has one sort of fight / just dodge the axe thing near the end of the film, and then she clunks her brother in the head with it, and that's it. Like, this criminally underused Jamie Lee at like the height of Jamie Lee's horror chops. Like, this is when she was at the top of her game, and she's just kind of a footnote in the movie. She's supposed to be the main character with all the emotional punch, but there's nothing.
It's weird. It's like I kept forgetting that she wasn't going to be one of the victims as well, because you feel like she should be, because it's Jamie Lee Curtis, and you know she's the big star. The big main character is going to be on the killer's list, but they aren't in this one. It's so weird.
There's not really any good reason for her character to be in this movie.
No.
Which is almost a shame, because you've got Jamie Lee Curtis, who we've already proven this month brings just immense heft and gusto to everything she does. But they didn't want to use her despite wanting her in this movie. There was a lot of confusion there for me.
I mean,
And tell you what as well, her being in there, man, the rest of those actors look terrible in comparison.
You can't keep up with Jamie Lee. Like, she's so fucking talented, and she was from day one. And that's why I just get so annoyed with this one, because it feels like they just have a character to just exist. Like, we saw Jamie Lee do a whole bunch with not a whole lot with Knives Out. Like, Knives Out, the character was very thick. Like, there's a lot of backstory to it, but she didn't really have a lot to do in the movie, and she was still able to portray everything in that backstory, and you understood every facet of her character by her physicality, her very brief dialogue, just mannerism, everything. She brought it. In this movie, I didn't feel any of that stuff. I feel like the director and her just never either got on the same page, or maybe they just didn't flesh it out enough. But she's just mostly a vessel to be, like, she's a plot point. That's it. And it's just so frustrating when you can look at a movie, say, like Terror Train, where it's like, oh, wow, there's an actual character here. Like, this is kind of fun. You get to see her, like, try to figure out who the killer is. Like, was she involved with the killer? And then she figures out she is, and she's guilty, and there's so much going on. And then you compare it to Prom Night, and it's like, well, she's dating one of the guys who killed her sister, and then she hits her brother with an axe.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's from a writing standpoint, it's kind of like that problem in your first draft where you have too many characters and have to cut out a few to streamline it. I don't think they ever got to that stage with this.
Yeah, they never got
because Kimberly doesn't make it. Kimberly doesn't make it in a revision.
No, Kimberly gets combined with a blonde girl who had to run through the science room. That's what happens to Kimberly. And then she gets killed because she still would have deserved it. Like, there's a character, and you get rid of the whole sister aspect of it. Like, there was something you could have done with this, and they just didn't fucking do it. Frustrating.
I mean, like, yeah. It's just, I keep thinking, like, she just seems like a guest appearance in her own story.
Yeah.
It's so odd.
And I appreciate that they really, like, she definitely gave it her all there at the end when she realized it was her brother. Like, you could see it in her face. Like, her chops are there. Like, she is working tenfold, circling everybody else in the cast. But it's just so frustrating that you don't get it until the very end. Like, you don't really get that emotional punch from her until she's essentially murdering her brother and then, like, begging the cops not to shoot him because he's fucking dead anyways. And, like, there's like, oh, there's Jamie Lee. You got a little bit.
Oh yeah, no. And weirdly enough, the editing comes back for that.
Yeah.
After she clocks him in the head, the cool editing style comes back.
Yeah.
The all the interesting stuff from the beginning comes back into the movie, and she's bringing her all, as she's done throughout the entire movie with what little she had to do. But, like, it's suddenly an interesting movie again. But, like,
yeah, like the flashback with the POV, and, like, I really loved that. And then, like, the way they reveal it as well. Not sure why the brother was wearing red lipstick, I'll be honest with you, but I'm sure there was like something in about that.
I'm figuring either that's a cut scene or is just a bad makeup job, like just a whoopsie.
Or it could have been just like we need blood on his mouth, and it just translated on the screen for lipstick.
Yeah.
Because he got clocked in the face, so obviously his face would be bloody, but it looks like
Well,
kind
there's
of a goof.
blood up the top, and then there's nothing. Then he seems to have red lipstick on. It's really bizarre.
And it's clearly red lipstick. Like even Chewie called it out. She's like, "Why is he wearing lipstick?" I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's almost over. Just it'll be over soon. Which is never what you want to say when you're watching a movie.
No.
Yeah.
But I think we kind of all agree, and then we're going to start moving to the end of this thing. There were some good things in it, and like that was the whole reason why I was able to get through it. It's just the bad outweighed the good, unfortunately. But there were the cool editing, some cool kills. The concept wasn't bad. It's really fun seeing who borrowed from it. Primarily the two that I came up with, because I couldn't come up with another on the top of my head, was I Know What You Did Last Summer and Scream. But there were fun things in it, just nothing that would ever bring me back to it again.
Yeah, but also the soundtrack was good. Like the disco stuff was, like, despite what was on the screen, the music was like, this was fun music. It was fun music to have in a horror film, which probably shouldn't have been there, but like still.
And again, doing a little bit of research
the song
on
of
it.
that dance sequence is.
So the little bit of research on the music, which is interesting, they had filmed all the movie with popular disco songs, and then they went to get them cleared and realized that they couldn't fucking afford it, so they had to write all new disco songs that were close enough to not get sued, and the guy wrote them all in about 5 days, and they came out pretty fucking good.
Yeah. With that knowledge, like that was impressive, because I was really digging on the disco soundtrack.
The song over that dance sequence where it like literally going prom night, that's a really good song.
Yeah.
I was like properly into that song.
I'm not a big disco guy, but I dug it.
Yeah.
All right. I think we should...
One thing that
go ahead.
I'm just thinking like the kid actors as well, like who they cast as the kids, they did a really good job in like, especially with the kid who played Nick. I mean, God, he does look like a younger version of the guy who plays him as an adult.
He's also the son of the producer, and more trivia, the only actor to appear in all 4 Prom Night films.
Yeah. All those different characters. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
But another thing that I found quite funny as well, it's just a little thing, is the bit in the van where the guy sort of sits on his glasses, and when he goes, I can't see a thing without my glasses, immediately I just started to think, I can't see without my glasses. I'm just like, is that where this comes from? Is that where that cliche thing comes from?
I hope so. I mean, like I said, this movie inspired a lot of stuff. Maybe it inspired that too.
Yeah.
Sure.
Why not? All right, let's move into the end of this thing. We're going to skip quotes because this movie is not that quotable. It does have that one line that, again, I'm just going through IMDb trivia here because it's a lot of trivia and it's kind of fun. It's not who you come home with, it's who takes you home. Oh, it's not who you come with, it's who takes you home. That's in all 4 Prom Night movies. How about that? But I honestly think that's the only decent quote in the whole thing. So we're going to go with favorite parts. I think that one would be a little bit easier on all of us. I'll go first. Mine is pretty simple because I've already mentioned how much I loved it earlier. I fucking love the head chop. I think it's an awesome scene.
Oh, yeah.
It totally caught me off guard. Even though I knew that guy got his head chopped off, it's still just like, whoa, there goes his whole head. Like, it was just kind of a fun, jarring, like, whoa. It was a cool scene. I liked it.
I'll go next then. I like the the elongated van scuffle. Because that thing went on for a while, first of all, and that van was doing loop-de-loops nowhere near a cliff, and then it just falls off a cliff and explodes. Just the silliness of how that's constructed and how it didn't age very well.
Oh, man. Swap out the music with Benny Hill, and you're going to have a good time.
Yeah, I was very amused by that whole sequence, especially if you take into account the whole goofiness of the killer and how they move, and just the van spinning around. Ugh. I'm laughing right now.
Him hanging off that door is not an easy stunt to do. Good stunt guy.
No. And wow, the killer took some licks in that too. Like, this killer took a lot of licks trying to kill, and it was really funny.
Honestly, mine is very similar. Mine's the bit where the van goes off the cliff because it's like it's so bizarre. It's like 1 minute he's in like a big wooded area, and the van's just sort of like spinning around, and then for no reason whatsoever, it just goes off a cliff and explodes. It also explodes before it even hits the thing. It explodes mid-air.
Yeah, that guy should really
Whoever was
carry
timing
less
that
C4
explosion.
when driving around.
Yeah, and it's like it hits at the front, but the explosion comes from the back as well. It's one of those. It's such a cliche thing of like, you know, a vehicle going off a cliff and it exploding, but like that one is just taken to extremes. It's like it doesn't even hit the thing before it explodes, and it's just. I saw that and I had to rewind it a couple times. I was like, yeah, it definitely doesn't actually hit. It just explodes randomly and then hits.
Yeah, no, and she's still hanging off the back as far as the editing is concerned. So it's like all these things are just like, this is ridiculous.
It's a fun sequence. Like, there are good things in this movie. It's not enough. Double features. I'm going to go first again because all of you can guess what I'm going to say. It's going to be Terror Train. Absolutely. And be sure to watch this one first and then watch Terror Train, just like I did. And it'll be like, oh, okay, this is okay. Oh, this is pretty good. And you'll have yourself a good night.
Okay, I'm going to go with something as a bit of a medicine for this. After seeing this, I'm going to have you watch Black Christmas.
Okay. You're talking about the remake, of course.
If I wanted to review the movie, yes, I would use the remake. But I feel like having something with a goofy, like continuing that thread of the scary, weird voice, jump to Black Christmas, the original. And yeah, that'll solve all the problems that you had with this
For
one.
sure.
It's not boring.
Black Christmas is not boring.
So my double feature is way out of left field, and I'm actually going to go with Mean Girls.
Okay.
Because
I feel it.
you've got the really clicky elements in Prom Night, and they both do actually have climaxes at proms essentially. Just one of them involves murder, and the other one involves just mean girl antics. And I just sort of think it's a nice comparison of like, you know, this is how they used to try and do high school drama, and this is how they then moved on to doing high school drama, having actual people who look like high school kids
For the most part.
in the film. Yeah. Rather than clearly like 30 and 40-year-olds in
Wasn't what's her? I forget her name. The main mean girl. Wasn't she 30 when she made that?
Oh, Rachel
Yeah.
McAdams.
Rachel McAdams.
Wasn't she like?
Maybe. She doesn't look it,
No,
though.
she does not. You're right there. You're absolutely right about that. She does not look 30, but I think she was.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I mean that's the biggest problem with Prom Night is like they may have been 30 or 40, but they look it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like I'm all for like, you know, casting older actors as high school students, you know, to get, if you know that's what you have to do to get your film made, because you need the time, you need the sort of experience acting, but at least cast an older actor who looks like, you know, they could be in high school.
Yeah. Like
you said, like don't cast balding guy as well.
like Jonah Hill in fucking. Now I'm forgetting the name of the movie. Superbad. He was super old, but he didn't look it, and he could still play that young, so it still worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was 26 in Mean Girls, by the way. So apologies. She wasn't quite 30 yet. I don't even mean to be rude. I just knew she was older. So that's it. We have finished with Jamie Lee month, and like we like to do at the end of our People's Month is what have we learned about them? How do we feel about them after we've finished watching all their films? Matt, you've been on for 2 of them, so I'm still going to ask you to play along. I can start out with just, I went into this month being a fan of Jamie Lee, and then I left it being like a diehard fan of Jamie Lee. Because when I think of Jamie Lee Curtis, I think of a quality actor who's been in a lot of like both good films and like campy cult films. And that was really kind of all I thought about her. But now after watching her throughout all of these movies, it's like not only is she in all of that stuff, but she also brings she brings all that stuff up to another level. Like my respect for her has gone through the roof over the month of just seeing how she can do a movie like H2O and call it a paycheck film and still just not just deliver like a ho-hum performance or just like, she was pretty good. She was great. Like she did everything she could to make that movie as good as it could be. And if that was her phoning it in, she's one of the best actors out there. Like I love Jamie Lee now.
Yeah, agreed. And I'll bounce off of that, or bounce from that, and suggest that I was a little worried coming into this month that I was going to find the Jamie Lee performance I didn't like, or that I would somehow think less of her. But considering how in all our movies, none of the directors really use her or do much with her character, in any of the movies we watched, they kind of just let her be.
Yeah.
And she managed to still be so good. Like, I'm a huge Ryan Johnson fan, so, like, the character didn't have much to do just because that's the way the character was in a whodunit. So it's not like he didn't know what to do with her. He knew to let her do her thing. But in these other cases, it was just, we've got Jamie Lee Curtis. What do we do? I don't know. And then she just came through with, like, left and right, pulling out performances that made me, still a fan. It was reassuring, reaffirming, and I felt really good after this month of just like, no, she's the magic number here.
Yeah, for sure. Like you go to True Lies and it's like, holy shit, like this is Arnold, as we mentioned in that episode, at the fucking top of his game, and Jamie Lee is right there with him, if not surpassing him throughout the entire film. Like the amount of character work she had to do in that thing, and she's just killing it throughout. Super impressive.
Yeah, I agree, like completely agree, because I've always sort of like the first sort of thing I think the first thing I remember seeing Jamie Lee Curtis in, to be honest, was True Lies. So going in, that's already a strong performance to sort of base my opinion of like an actor. I mean, 7 or 8 years old, or however old I was, you're not going to be like saying, oh, that's a good actor. But everything I've seen her in, she's just been fantastic. Like I said about this film, she makes all the other actors in it look dog shit, really, in comparison, because she's just like another level. It'd be like having, casting someone like, oh Christ, I'm trying to think, casting like Gregory Peck in like an asylum film or something like that. The really crappy cheap rip-off films. It'd be like
Gregory Peck in an asylum film. That's a perfect analogy.
Sure, we worked on a couple of those things. Yeah, we're very familiar with asylum films.
So she just excels in everything she does, and she's so versatile as well. She's done horror, she's done comedy, and done comedy really well. I mean, like, Jesus, like A Fish Called Wanda, she's in there with John Cleese and Michael Palin, like two really big comedic actors, and she's the best thing in that film, in my opinion.
She's so fucking good in that movie. God, she's good in that movie.
It's just incredible. Like, and then you're going through to the more sort of subtle character-driven ones, like you mentioned in Knives Out. God, I completely blanked on the name of that then. But for what she's in that, she's exceptional, and that character, who that character is from what she does and how she delivers. You know that they're a like intelligent person. That they're like very sort of strong, and that like of all those characters, they're the most capable as well. Like the family, I mean.
Yeah.
Just from like the subtle things she does. Like one of my favorite bits in that film is when she goes to the detective. Like, are you baiting me, detective?
Such a good moment.
It's just so like, oh, she's picked up on his bullshit straight away, and like how intelligent that character is. And then it's sort of like it plays off really well when you then cut to Don Johnson just ripping into the brother.
Such a good movie.
And be like, yeah, she's definitely the brains of that relationship.
Okay. So yeah, I'd say we're all in agreement. This was a good month. I enjoyed diving through the Jamie Lee Curtis backlog, and honestly, she might be one of my first contenders to do a sequel month on, because there's still so much of her work that we haven't even touched on.
We barely touched the surface.
Yeah, so she might be coming back around at some point, because man, that was a lot of fun. But unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. So we're going to say goodbye to Jamie Lee, but we are going to say hello to Mr. Hugo Weaving. Hooray for Hugo Weaving month. I am so excited for this month. We are starting things off because we want to get as close to the 5th of November, of course, with V for Vendetta. Because how do you not do V for Vendetta when the whole reason we picked Hugo Weaving was Mr. November for the 5th of November. So we're going to get that one right out of the gate. Really looking forward to V for Vendetta. And then the other three, Chewy, John, and I will be picking, and we'll let you know at the end of next week what those will be. Again, kind of like with Jamie Lee Curtis, he's been in a shitload of things. Like, almost 100. I'm looking at his IMDb right now. 92 credits.
Oh, God.
We're going to miss a lot.
Yeah, that's going to... Get ready for some hefty duty wherever they've been doing.
Like, we're going to miss a lot. But I'm very excited for it. I think we're all going to pick something kind of fun. We might even do that. I don't remember the name of the thing that Chewy was telling us about last week. Who knows? Maybe that one will come up again, because what the fuck was that? Maybe we'll do Transformers, and we'll just talk about his Megatron performance. There's a lot of options.
There are.
Please don't do the Transformers film.
Please do, you said? You said please do? Sorry, you cut out a little bit. Please do?
Please
All right, we won't do Transformers. We'll do Babe Pig in the City, where he played Rex.
Ooh. That's better. That's better than Transformers.
Babe Pig in the City was shown in my screenwriting 2 class as the quintessential way to write a hero's tale. And I still can't believe my teacher did that. I'm still just kind of floored. It wasn't a bad movie, but I'm like, really? Hero's tale.
Wow, did
Babe
you pay for that class?
I think you just hate movies, dude.
Oh my God. And you paid for that class.
I paid a lot of money for that. I finally finished paying off that class earlier this year. Like, it took a lot of time to pay off those fucking classes. Babe 2.
Ugh.
Pig in the City. That's where we started.
And it just went gradually downhill from there.
Yeah, when he gave me a B on one of my scripts, I'm like, I don't even fucking care. I don't know where your bar is, dude.
It's just down the street a little ways.
Oy. All right, let's move into plugs, and then we will say goodbye. My plug, as always, is, well, actually, it's not working right now. It was going to be Welcome to Your Doom, but we're on a hiatus right now from Welcome to Your Doom because our co-host, Graham, went and got himself a big old fancy job that required him to leave the city for over a month. So we will be taking some time off. Matt and I have not figured out what our Band-Aid episode will be, but hopefully we'll have one for you coming up soon. And so keep an eye out for that. Just go to the Welcome to Your Doom feed, and that whatever that episode that Matt and I and maybe another guest will have will be there eventually. What a plug that is. John, what are you plugging?
As always, I sound like a broken record at this point. Demon Days, the actual play podcast that I DM, produce, edit, and all that jazz. We're having a good time, and yeah, look for the next episode coming this week. Well, it will have already aired, actually, so yeah.
Matt, I think you had an article come out, didn't you?
I did. It came out. Woohoo! Yeah, my Hunt for October article came out. So, yeah, go give that a read if you've seen the film. If you haven't watched the film, then go give it a read.
Now, I've been...
Read it while watching the film.
I apologize, Matt. I've been very busy with work and everything lately, so I have not had a chance to read it. Did you update the article with the Frisky Dingo reference?
No.
Well, that's just disappointing.
Okay, well, I guess we're taking it down. Don't read it now. Just kidding. JK, lol.
Well,
I'm not going to do that.
You can always listen to the Frisky Dingo episode where we talk about it. That was, let's see if this coming out next Thursday. That was 2 weeks ago. Check that one out. And yeah, that's pretty much everything, right? We did it.
We did it. We survived prom night.
We survived prom night, like the majority of the people at prom night. Matt, thank you so much for coming on again.
Well, there was no threat for the majority of
very
people
true.
from night.
Matt, thanks for jumping on again. I know this is very early in the morning for you, so we appreciate you jumping on and talking about a movie that none of us particularly enjoyed. All right, I'm just going to say goodbye, and a good fond farewell to Jamie Lee Curtis. Thank you so much for this month. It was a blast. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and goodbye. Bye. Bye.